Howdy folks, and welcome to another edition of Blu-Ray Bullshit, where we shoot the shit about a Blu-ray. And this week we're shooting the shit about The Shining. That's right. And it's October the 1st. So that means it's time to watch horror movies. Right, yeah. All month long.
So that's what we're going to do this month. All of our bullshits, however many there ends up being, we're going to do all horror flicks. Because we've kind of got a tradition every year. We kick back and do a little mini movie marathon. Usually it's The Shining, Evil Dead 2, and Repo Man.
Always got to have Repo Man.
You got to always have that in there. I don't know why that's the tradition part.
That's the tradition.
Yeah. So, basically, we're going to start off talking about PQ, all that good shit like we normally do, and move on to some more interesting things.
Yeah, we already did a whole bullshit. We already did this. We already did this take.
Yeah. And
then my dumbass deleted it.
So
he was supposed to be home like 45 minutes ago. So
it's all good. So first of all, I'll say that I've got The Shining on HD DVD.
Me too.
Yeah, you have both. Yep. It was one of the first catalog titles that I got. And during the initial shot where the VW's winding its way up the mountain, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, holy shit, this could have been shot yesterday. It looks that good. Textures pop. It's really quite insane. What's your take on the PQ?
I agree. It's definitely a 5-star picture quality. They did a fantastic job. Grain is minimal. It's there. Colors really pop. What comes to mind for me is the scene in the apartment with Wendy and little Danny Torrance. If you watch that scene, all of the books in the background and all of his toys and the little posters on his wall, they all pop out at you. And that was one of the first things I noticed.
Yeah. It's got that 3D effect, which is kind of rare in catalog titles, in my opinion. When I really noticed it was when Danny's riding his big wheel through the hall. And that garish 70s carpet, those patterns that are on there jump out at you. You can see little individual tufts of carpet. It's really cool.
Which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, that whole interior of the Overlook Hotel was a soundstage. That was a set built on a soundstage. The first time I learned that, I was blown away.
That would have to be one huge-ass soundstage.
It was, and actually they lived on the soundstage during the duration of the shoot. If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Speaking of Wendy, that's Shelley Duvall in my mind is the only flaw in this movie. But
I don't see it as a flaw. I see it as Stanley Kubrick meant for us to hate her.
That way you could kind of maybe see Jack's point in wanting to bash her brains right the fuck in. Maybe.
I mean, it's a funny movie. It makes me laugh. I remember one time somebody got angry at me. Not angry at me, but just disagreed with me. It's not a funny movie. Well, no, it's not. It's not meant to be a comedy, but Jack Nicholson's performance, how can you not laugh?
It's kind of like Sling Blade. After you've seen Sling Blade one time, it's a fucking comedy every time you watch it after that.
Yeah, the trajectory on Sling Blade for me was, I saw it once in the theater, thought it was awesome. And then like a year later, I was like, that was just a flash in the pan, I don't like this movie. And then a few years ago, I rediscovered the genius of Sling Blade as a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really.
We're not saying this is what The Shining is, though.
No, not in the least. Just kind of.
Because this is a masterpiece. This is in my top 5 movies of all time. And if you haven't gotten into Blu-ray yet, this is one of the first titles you should definitely pick up.
Exactly. And if you don't have it yet, what's wrong with you? Come on.
Where's your brain?
Yeah. Speaking of seeing things in the theater, we actually saw this flick in the theater back in March, I believe it was. It was Robert Osborne's Classic Film Festival, which was down in Athens.
Athens, yeah.
And before each movie, Robert Osborne, who was hosting it, would come out and talk about the movie, and then bring out an expert.
I love Robert Osborne.
Oh, I do too.
Turner Classic Movies. He comes out and introduces all the films on TCM, and I'm kind of scared because I've noticed that. Well, he's looking a little
frail.
A little frail. Sometimes he's just sitting down.
Right.
When they do those now. So
yeah. So we went down there to that, and The Shining was actually a midnight showing. We had seen Stand By Me with Corey Haim was the guest, and he sits down with Robert Osborne.
Corey Haim was the guest like
twice. For that and Butch Cassidy.
But wait a second. He was the guest like Weekend at Bernie's. They had his stiff corpse sitting there with the sunglasses on.
Did I just say Corey Haim?
Yeah, you said Corey Haim.
Corey Feldman.
Was the guest.
Corey Feldman was the guest for Stand By Me. We'd seen that during the day, and then
because remember Robert Osborne called Corey Haim.
Corey Haim.
And
then Cloris Leachman wasn't able to make it for the early evening showing of Butch Cassidy, so they brought Corey Feldman back up there again.
Corey Feldman, here's a surreal scene for you. Corey Feldman and Robert Osborne are sitting there on stage discussing Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You know, discussing it. Corey Feldman and...
But, you know, props to the Feld Dogs. He pulled it out.
He did pull it off. He was actually quite verbose.
And sat like 2 seats down from us during the screening of Butch Cassidy. It was kind of cool. He kept sneaking out for smoke breaks. But the midnight showing...
That's what you got to do when you come off the heroin.
Right, yeah. You got to pick up another vice.
I'm sorry. Cut that out. I don't want...
So, the midnight showing was The Shining. And Patterson Hood from Drive-By Truckers, some of you are probably familiar with that group,
was the host.
He came out and he was basically, okay, so it's The Shining, it's pretty cool, and anyway, so here's Leon Vitali, and I'm going to talk to this old British guy for a few minutes. But,
it was like 5 minutes, and he was asking all the wrong questions. This guy was Stanley Kubrick's assistant on every film from
Barry Lyndon
on. And I mean, he was like his right-hand man. This man knows more about Stanley Kubrick than Stanley Kubrick's wife, probably.
Yeah. So, basically he was asking the wrong questions, but he did come out, he injected one really awesome story. He was telling the story of shooting the blood sequence. And basically, due to the fact they had several thousand gallons, it was either 2,000 or 3,000, I can't remember what the figure that he said.
I can't remember.
A shit ton of fake blood in this elevator shaft. And when they were going to release it, they had one shot at this thing for like an entire day's worth of work to get it set up. They had a waterproof enclosure for the camera sitting on the floor. Leon Vitali stood on top of it while the whole thing went down. Stanley Kubrick's nerves were so shot by just the whole thing, he had to go outside and wait for Leon Vitali to come out and tell him if it worked or not.
So his whole purpose in standing there was to make sure that it worked.
Right. Pretty much.
Yeah. That was an interesting story, and I hadn't heard that story before, so it may have been the first time he told it.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the bomb we saw out on the street.
Just proves what jackasses we are. We're walking along, and here's this guy.
He looks like the kind of guy that comes up and asks for a cigarette.
Imagine homeless Axl Rose. And that's actually what I said. Hey, Axl Rose wannabe at 12 o'clock. And, here he comes. He goes right past us.
Axl Rose in the last throes of dying from cancer or something like that. He looked ill.
So, we're making fun of the guy. Then when he comes up on stage before the midnight showing of The Shining, I just lean over and I look, I'm like, hey, it's the fucking guy from the parking lot. What a couple of jackasses. Seriously.
Thunderheads.
We could have at least walked up, shaken the man's hand, got an autograph, something.
We met Leon Vitali, the
just
man.
Us and him in the parking lot, and we make fun of him.
The closest thing you can get to moving to meeting Stanley Kubrick himself would be Leon Vitali.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, so that was it. But back to the Blu-ray, kind of wrap things up with it. The HD DVD looks great. The Blu-ray looks great. The Blu-ray kind of wins out, mainly due to our setups both have 1080i HD players.
And we've both watched the movie so many times, we can detect a difference with our eyes and then the difference between 1080i and 1080p, where most of the time I really can't.
Right.
Just as a little plug for these Toshiba HD DVD players, you can pick them up fairly cheap on eBay if you find a good deal. They make an excellent up-converting DVD player. So I give it the Cackalacky movie seal of approval.
Because we can't say 2 thumbs up, even though I just did.
You did yours after mine. See, I could do... I'll do mine, and then you do yours.
There we go.
Because I don't want to get sued by,
Siskel.
No,
or is it Ebert? Ebert's still alive. Yeah.
Zombie Siskel. What is it with you and the dead people? Siskel was there. Corey Haim was there. It was a virtual rogues gallery of dead, it was zombies.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't have time to talk about the movie, the characters, the production design, the Stanley Kubrick and the direction and
The
editing.
Stephen King controversy, the
Yeah,
miniseries.
The miniseries and the whole hoopla around that. We didn't have time in this 15-minute segment to talk about all that. So let us know if you want us to talk about that, if you want to hear our thoughts on the movie itself more than all the asides we were talking about here. Let us know in the comment section. We'll be happy to come back and do another.
Oh, all month long, throughout this glorious month of October, we're going to be rolling out more and more horror flicks to do these Blu-ray bullshits on, because Halloween's my favorite holiday.
Me
we
too.
know it's your favorite holiday. So roll us out, homeboy.
Join us next time on Cackalacky Movie Madness. Wendy, darling, light of my life, I said, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your brains in. I'm going to bash them right the fuck in.